The problem with these policies is that it's forcing everyone to make decisions based on scarcity. Drive less, turn your lights off, don't run your appliances, don't do this, don't do that. If we were able to expand supply, if I were in charge, we would approve the permits, you would allow the offshore production, you would ensure that you had enough production to stabilize and allow these pipelines to function.
Elected to the 20th Congressional District in 2024 to succeed former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Congressman Vince Fong.
Well, Congressman Vince Fong, welcome to State of Gold.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. And as we said a minute ago, you have the two most important flags in the world behind you. I love your setup. I feel like I need to actually have a comparable setup. I'm feeling inferior. Listen, Congressman, let's start with energy. We have an energy crisis in California. Amazingly, Governor Newsom and the legislature seem to be making an about face and saying that oil and oil production is now important. What do you make of the governor's latest moves?
Well, I think there's finally an acknowledgement of the need for more domestic production. I think that what has occurred, though, is been a decade-long crisis that's formed. And now you've got this realization that we've got gasoline shortages. We are importing oil and gas from countries that don't share our values and don't like America. So we have become more dependent on foreign sources of energy. And then California is an energy island. So all of these things compound itself from the standpoint of we just can't bring in gasoline from Texas or any neighboring state. And in fact, Nevada and Arizona rely on their supply from us. But what has occurred, and I was watching the developments in Sacramento very closely. What has happened, or what transpired, is basically an incomplete, policy solution. So, certainly for me in the Central Valley, I represent Kern County, Tulare County, Fresno County, Kings County. We're the energy production capital of California. We're 70% of the state's oil and gas. We're 60% of the state's renewable energy production. There is no energy goal that can be met without what we do. But if you look at holistically, everything that's tied together, everyone's looking at energy policy from their own side. We need domestic production in Kern County and the Central Valley from up to Fresno will do its part. But then you need pipelines to get that production to the refinery. You look at the recent article that Bloomberg just wrote a couple weeks ago that happened to come out as the debate was happening in Sacramento. You've got one of the biggest, the major pipeline going north to provide supplies to the refineries in the Bay Area. That is potentially going to shut down because you don't have enough production. So it's not just production; you need enough production to flow into these into this pipeline. So you have a pipeline that goes north, you have a pipeline that goes south. If that pipeline goes north, shuts down, stops operations, how are we going to get that product to the refinery? And then, of course, what has triggered this about face, I think, in large part, is the announcement of 2 refineries closing in our state. You have P66 that announced its closure. That's going to close this year. You have the Valero refinery in the Bay Area. That's going to close next year. That's 20% of our refinery capacity that's going to disappear basically overnight. Well, what happened at the end of session? Nothing happened when it comes to expanding our refining capacity. So you have production that's going to happen in the Central Valley, but where is it going to go, and how is it going to get there? It all has to tie together. Then you have the fact that the governor has rejected and is trying to basically stall out offshore oil production. So you look at the platform that's off the coast of California. That's 54,000 barrels of oil that could come into our economy, almost instantaneously. But that's not gonna happen either. I just talked to a producer today in Ventura. They're gonna shut down after 35 years of operation. You have operations in Los Angeles and in Orange County. We need it all. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people are missing, is that we need Kern County production, we need Central Valley production, but we need Southern California production. We need offshore production. All of that is going to stabilize the pipelines and the refineries. But what's going to happen, I'm afraid, is that you're going to get another 1 or 2 refineries that are going to shut down. You're going to have a pipeline that shuts down. we're still going to see a possibly $8 to $10 gasoline because you got to truck that refined product everywhere. And this is not just a California problem. I mean, we're going to see the consequence, but Arizona and Nevada are going to have shortages. And then, of course, Valero, the Bay Area refinery, I mean, they're the sole jet fuel provider to Chavez Air Force Base. They provide fuel to armed forces in the Indo-PACOM region. I mean, so you not only do you have an energy crisis, now you've got a national security crisis that's tied to it. And of course, what's the governor doing? He's just saying, well, he's going to make the political headline. I solved this problem by doing something that's completely incomplete. And this is the whole problem with California, is that they're making energy policy through sound bites, but not through substance.
Well, you've said so many things so well, and I want to sort of pick on a thread, maybe pull it a little bit, which is that our problems are man-made in California. We have all of the resources, the technology, the people, the topography, the land, and yet we have such bad policy. So, Congressman, let me ask you this. If you're king for a day, 2 or 3 things you would do, let's say it's executive order, or let's say it's just sort of inspiration from above, but what are 2 or 3 things you would do to change the game and start bringing prices down for consumers, right? Because the people getting hurt the most are the working poor, the working class, who can't afford to live in California, can't afford their energy. What should we do?
Well, we need to create policies based on abundance. The Democrats are trying to, co-opt this abundance notion, but we were the ones that have been talking about this for a while, not only on energy but on water as well. So let's not. The problem with these policies is that it's forcing everyone to make decisions based on scarcity. Drive less, turn your lights off, don't run your appliances, don't do this, don't do that. But if we were able to expand supply, that's the key. So if I were in charge, I mean, look, you would approve the permits in the Central Valley. You would allow the offshore production to come onshore. You would allow the production to happen in Ventura, in Los Angeles, and Southern California. You would ensure that you had enough production to stabilize and allow these pipelines to function. Right? Because if you don't, then these critical infrastructure pieces, they will atrophy. I mean, they won't work, and then we're going to spend even more money trying to either modernize it or build new pipelines, which, of course, in the city of California, the governor is never going to allow for more energy infrastructure to be built. So we gotta keep the ones that we have functional, and then we gotta talk to the refineries and say, what is it going to take to get you guys to not only exist but to expand? It's going to be $1 billion investment to build a new refinery, not only in California but across the country. And who's going to invest? Who is going to invest in energy production and energy infrastructure in our state when you have the governor of California and the entire statewide system, department-wide, demonizing this industry and saying, we don't want you here? I mean, all of that. So the question is going to be, we need to get more investment in California, and we have to do everything we can to create those incentives.
Yeah, so well said. We have an episode coming out this week with Rob Lapsley and had a great conversation with him. And I asked him, what is your members' view of the current economy in California? And he said, it's one word: uncertainty, right? Capital follows predictability. Capital follows certainty. And to your point, I'm sure if the oil and gas industry felt there was predictability, they would finance anything related to bringing more energy to California consumers, because we are such a great market, and it's such a shame.
I mean, this White House is all focused on energy dominance, baseload power. I mean, it's not just, look, we got to power our homes and our cars and our businesses, but we also are trying to attract new industries into our state. When we talk about AI, when we talk about quantum, all these emerging technologies, right? How are they going to come to California if we can't power it? I mean, AI data centers,
Yes.
right? One data center is going to be 20% of base load when you talk about the one coming into Louisiana. One data center is going to be 20% of the entire grid in Louisiana. But we're using intermittent power. So without battery storage, how do you do that? So, it's not just our quality of life, but it's also our broader economic growth. If we don't have stable, affordable energy, where all the investment when it comes to new technology is going to go to other states. And you see that now.
Yep, yep, 100% agree. Energy is life and energy is business, right? Two phrases we need to remember. Can we talk about cap and trade for a minute, Congressman, now called cap and invest? California legislature just extended the program to 2045, slipped the high-speed rail in there, I gather, that boondoggle. How much is this cap and trade, or now cap and invest program, increasing energy prices for consumers? And what should consumers in California know about the impact of this program on their pocketbook?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the LAO analysis that was done in the past, I mean, you're looking at maybe a 10 to 15 cent increase in your price of gasoline. You're piling on more restrictions on energy producers, basically, and then you add in all the other mandates on top of that. So it's not, the cap and trade is just another anchor on top of all the other anchors that have been placed on Sacramento by Sacramento. So it's all going to get worse. And then, as you mentioned before, you made the rebranding of it. I mean, this has basically become a slush fund for Sacramento. I mean, you look at the things that they're investing in, none of it is energy related. I mean,
Can you elaborate, Congressman? Can you explain for our viewers, because this is one of these hidden taxes, these special funds that citizens don't understand, where it's a bit of a slush fund, it's fungible, and the governor and legislature can use it to spend on other things. How is the cap and trade money being spent?
well, I mean, when I was in the legislature, it was being used for housing. It was being used for high speed rail. We were trying to get them to come up with a list of like, hey, let's prioritize. If you care about reducing carbon, then what are you going to do? I mean, if you were really focused on reducing carbon, then you would spend most of that money on preventing catastrophic wildfires. Because when these wildfires happen, they're releasing enormous amounts of carbon into the air. But they don't want to do that. They want to throw it into their pet projects. I mean, this is the whole invest part. But the question is, what are they investing in? I mean, the high-speed rail nightmare that exists, I mean, goes to my district. You talk to Ali Macedo, who's been a stalwart in trying to expose the structural mismanagement that currently exists. But, I mean, every business plan, every report, every audit that has come forward has said that this will not reduce carbon. It won't reduce any amount of, it's not going to take people out of their cars because no one's going to ride it. And you're going to throw billions and billions of dollars. So $20 billion now, right? They extend the cap and trade for 20 years. So the state of California is going to waste $20 billion to try to bail out this boondoggle. But what could we spend $20 billion on? I mean, we could set our state up and fix address a tremendous amount of water needs when it comes to reservoirs and conveyance facilities. We could build more roads. We could upgrade our supply chain infrastructure. We could expand refining capacity in our state, build more pipelines, harden our electricity grid. I mean, we could build more houses. I mean, there's an infinite number of alternatives. I always challenge people, go to your nearest Starbucks and talk to everyone there and said, if I had $20 billion or $100 billion for you to invest in the state of California, give me your top 10, give me your top 100 priorities. Yeah. And I guarantee you, high-speed rail will not be one of them.
That's such a good call out. In fact, we should do that sometime together. I think we should go to a Starbucks. We should set up our 3 cameras, and we can use time with the congressman as bait to come talk to us and get the best ideas, because regular people have way better ideas than the state legislature in California. I know we have limited time, and I want to talk a bit about your perspective representing California 20th, the Central Valley, and what is the biggest current policy change need or policy failure that's impacting the Central Valley?
It's the fights are not Republican, Democrat. It's urban versus rural. You know, my community has urban centers from Fresno and Bakersfield, but we have a lot of rural communities as well. And the fights that happen in Sacramento and the fights that happen here in Washington, D.C. are not Republican, Democrat a lot, but they're, how do I invest competing against a San Francisco or Los Angeles? You know, when it comes to homelessness or housing or hospitals or schools, right? My community is equally deserving of resources as any urban center in California. The question is going to be how we allocate those resources and where it should go. So, we have a housing shortage. We have a teacher shortage. We have a need for more doctors and more nurses, more pharmacists. We're the growing part of California because we're relatively affordable. A home in Bakersfield or in Fresno, $450,000, expensive. But you take that same home and you placed it in San Francisco or Los Angeles. I mean, that's a $1.52 million an investment, and so that's why everyone's moving into our part of the state, and we offer a better quality of life, I think, for a lot of folks too. But the affordability crisis is very real. I mean, it is really expensive to live and work in California, and it's only getting worse. And everything we do in DC, I mean, in terms of letting people keep what they make and giving some relief, right? We don't want it to stop at the California border. And so a lot of these challenges, and I appreciate the focus of your podcast, is there's a lot of things on the state level that is only going to make things worse, and we need a partnership. What Governor Newsom is doing right now, he just wants to fight us in DC, but our problems are bigger than one party. We need to have Sacramento be working with us to solve problems, not litigating everything in the courts.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's finish with a couple things. Prop 50. Congressman, in a word, how would you describe Prop 50?
It's a power grab. That's 2 words, I guess. But this is something that is very frustrating because as someone who represents rural parts of California, if you care about the voice of rural California, then you should reject Prop 50. Because what they're doing is they're taking rural communities and they're carving them up and they're blending them in with urban centers. So this fight about urban versus rural, right? The urban centers already have a tremendous amount of influence. You're just gonna, you're gonna give them even more influence at the expense of people that live in small towns. So, look at my community. Fresno County is carved up 6 ways. Lodi is carved up three ways. Stockton's carved in half. Hanford is carved in half. Bakersfield is carved up multiple ways. You look what they're doing up in the northern part of the state with up in the California-Oregon border. And they take that district and they draw it into Sausalito up to down to the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, where are the communities of interest there? This is all designed to be a power grab for Gavin Newsom to inflate his presidential ambitions at the expense of all of us who are trying to ensure fair representation. Other states, of course, have other systems, and I get it. But for us in California, the voters of our state created this commission, voted to impose it and put it into our state constitution to explicitly prohibit partisan gerrymandering, to ensure that everyone has a voice. And so what is happening is they're silencing the voices of people that don't agree with the governor. And that's just not the right way to go.
Yeah, it's so well put. And of course, the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, came out on Monday. We were actually down at USC and with him when he made that presentation and spoke eloquently. He's a great storyteller and talked about why the commission was so important in 2008, 2010, and why it's just as important now. Congressman, this has been great. Let's finish with a little bit of rapid fire if we can.
Okay.
This is just one word, one phrase, no gotchas. The first question is, you're king for a day, the single biggest thing you do to fix California. You may have already answered it, but I want to give you another shot.
It comes down to power and water. We need more power. We need more water. Build water infrastructure, build energy infrastructure. That's going to be key for our long-term growth.
Yep. Energy is life. Water is life. Is there a California leader, past or present, you really admire, and why?
Well, Ronald Reagan is probably the leader that in California that is the model for all of us. The happy warrior, the conservative that it was out there to basically tell people, hey, it's okay to be conservative, and and we're going to make your life better. Charlie Kirk was probably the model of that. Have an open dialogue. He's not. He actually has some roots in California, but you look at the model that was created. Let's have the debate. Let's have the conversation. And let me earn your trust, and our policies are better, and let me prove it.
Yeah, thank you for that. What gives you hope for the future of California?
I think that the Californians are waking up. I think you see what's happening. The pendulum is swinging. Certainly I hope the pendulum swings faster than it is right now. But what gives me hope is that we have a lot of young leaders, a lot of new voices that are entering into the conversation that really are passionate about California. Because at the end of the day, what's going to fix California is going to be all of us coming together and coming to the realization that what has happened over the past 10, 15 years is not sustainable. And we need new voices and new messengers to say, look, enough is enough. Let's change our state for the better.
Thank you. Last question. California is fill in the blank.
Oh my goodness. California is the future. Now, if we do everything right over the next 4 to 6 years, we're going to set not only California in a new direction, but we'll lead the country in a whole new things. But if we fail and California continues the direction that we're in, we're going to be in a tough spot.